The Red Sea state of Eritrea has been paralyzed by regional isolation and international sanctions over flagrant violation of its neighbors' sovereignty. In 1998, the country went to war with Ethiopia over a chunk of land. In 2007, Eritrea offered bases to forces fighting the then transitional government of Somalia. Last year, another neighbor, Djibouti, reported that Eritrea was invading its territory. Relations between Eritrea and another neighbor on the western border, Sudan, are lukewarm. This position has forced Eritrea to suspend its membership from the Horn of Africa grouping called the Intergovernmental Authority for the Development, IGAD. Abdullah Rama Sayed, the Horn of Africa specialist from Citizens for Democratic Rights Group, comments on Eritrea's position.
The problem in Eritrea it's a very serious one at present. It does affect the entire sovereignty and territorial integrity of Eritrea as an entity, but also it is relations with the neighboring countries in the region, in the Horn of Africa. At present, it hasn't got any good relationship with Djibouti, a small country in Northeast Africa, Ethiopia, another neighboring country, and Sudan to some extent. The relations with Sudan has been on and off, but very fragile, to say the least. Now, with Ethiopia, the problem appears to be that it is a conflict or a border problem. However, it's clear that the border issue was not the main cause of the problem. There has been a structural problem within Eritrea. The government in power came as a rebel force and took over authority in Eritrea in 1991. And then since then, they refused to transform themselves from a rebel movement fighting for the liberation of Eritrea to a governing authority or party. In that case, they've also rejected any kind of political pluralism. They've also rejected any kind of rule of law, constitutional governance, or even democracy as a whole. They began running the country as if it was a property of the rebel group, which is highly centralized under the leadership of the current president of Eritrea. And that obviously led to so many problems, including massive abuse of human rights, which has begun to result now in exodus of refugees, making Eritrea almost the first or second largest refugee-producing country in the entire world. The current estimate is about 2,000 Eritrean young men and women are fleeing the country every month, some of them crossing the border to Ethiopia and others crossing the border to Sudan. In doing so, they're also risking their lives because there is a policy of shoot to kill whoever tries to cross the border to the south or west. And that means there are quite a number of people who are caught up while crossing and therefore shot dead right on the spot.
Eritrea has suspended its membership from the IGAD grouping. What setback has this caused to Eritrea? Is it really an important organ whereby Eritrea could have lost a lot?
Eritrea's withdrawal from this organ isolates Eritrea further and also damages Eritrea's role at the regional level, because if Eritrea has got no impact within the region, it means it will have no impact within the continent and beyond. And therefore, Eritrea is the main loser from withdrawing from this organ.
But one hardly hears of a voice of dissent from Eritrea. Are there no strong opposition parties that could stand up and, of course, correct the ills of the government of the day?
Unfortunately, inside Eritrea, any form of opposition or any form even of independent thinking has been suppressed and eliminated rigorously. The young people in Eritrea, once they reach the end of their high school years, they're all taken to a military camp to sit for their examinations. And there they're indoctrinated as military soldiers to be submissive and to follow just orders. That's where they kill the young people's spirit of independence and adventurism. The other political dissenters are either exiled or imprisoned and killed. inside the country, there is no opposition at present that can survive the onslaught of the governing security organs.
And as far as detentions are concerned, do you have political prisoners in Eritrea?
There are political prisoners in the thousands. Today in Eritrea, petty criminals and criminals of other type are treated more humanely than political prisoners.
But one hardly hears these negative reports from the media right inside Eritrea. How free is the media in that country?
The media has also been suppressed. There is only one media that belongs to the government and always obviously talks about the good things of the government or what the government wants. All the independent media were closed. In fact, Eritrea, in terms of media, is classified as second to North Korea.
Eritrea is on the African continent and is also a member state of the African Union. What is the influence of the African Union in that country?
The Eritrean membership is also suspended from the AU. The AU called on the United Nations Security Council to impose sanctions on Eritrea for becoming a troublemaker of the region and also for interfering in the affairs of Somalia. But again, our AU's influence has always been minimal on member countries. As we all know, this has inherited, the OAU and the countries, around 50 or so countries within Africa, are not all homogeneous in terms of their systems of governance, democracy, and respect for human rights, and which I think undermines the role of AU as a continental organ to impose or even pressurize any government, because who is going to put a pressure on who? There are no moral upper ground for member states at the expense of the other.
That's Abdul Rahman Sayed, the Horn of Africa specialist from Citizens for Democratic Rights, speaking to Charlie Kumar. And that brings us to the headlines with Mike Ndoli.